Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong has expressed the opinion that Congress ought to permit stablecoin companies to offer interest payments to their users. A prominent U.S. lawmaker has rejected Coinbase's request for the introduction of interest-bearing. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong has expressed the opinion that Congress ought to permit stablecoin companies to offer interest payments to their users. A prominent U.S. lawmaker has rejected Coinbase's request for the introduction of interest-bearing stablecoins. Circle has announced the hiring of J.P. Morgan and Citi, with the intention of filing for an initial public offering (IPO) in late April, as reported by Fortune. Furthermore, Bloomberg has provided commentary on how tariffs are causing disruptions in the Bitcoin mining supply chain, which is heavily based in Asia. NYC Mayor Eric Adams' legal case has been dismissed with prejudice, even though the Trump administration had requested the option to pursue prosecution later. Mayor Adams has decided to bypass the Democratic primary and will instead seek re-election as an independent candidate. The Hill has noted that both Vance and Harris are considered leading contenders for the 2028 White House race. In other news, Mike Pence is set to receive the JFK Profile and Courage Award for his role in certifying the 2020 election results. 7 months ago, Vance reiterated that he would not have certified the 2020 election if he had been vice president. Furthermore, a year ago, a study indicates that the wealthiest individuals in America have a life expectancy Oracle has informed its clients about a second recent hacking incident, during which login credentials were compromised. It has also been reported that Oracle attempted to conceal this significant cybersecurity breach from its customers using the Oracle SaaS service. TikTok is facing a potential fine of €500 million due to its data export practices between the EU and China. Furthermore, European law enforcement has successfully dismantled KidFlix, described as one of the world's largest platforms for pedophiles, through a collaborative operation.
Ford plans to provide employee pricing to all customers in the United States for the upcoming 2 months as new auto tariffs are implemented, leading to an increase in car prices. According to a former Ford CEO, this price hike is simply a matter of mathematics. It has been reported that Tesla currently holds $200 million in Cybertruck inventory. Furthermore, Xiaomi's electric vehicle division is set to deliver over 29,000 cars in March 2025.
The renowned Binoculars building in Los Angeles is now available for purchase. In New York, a luxurious quadplex penthouse located on Billionaires Row is being offered for a staggering $110 million. A leading insurance company has issued a warning that the ongoing climate crisis is poised to dismantle capitalism. Furthermore, a study has revealed a 7,000-year trend indicating that El Niño events are becoming increasingly frequent.
The Department of Defense in the United States has launched an investigation into Pete Hegseth's utilization of the Signal messaging app. It is reported that Waltz's team established at least 20 Signal group chats to manage crises globally. The European Commission is targeting end-to-end encryption and has suggested that Europol should be developed into an EU equivalent of the FBI. 5 VPN applications available in the App Store have been found to have connections to the Chinese military.
An Israeli military operation resulted in the deaths of numerous individuals at a shelter located in Gaza City, according to official statements. Hungary has announced its intention to exit the International Criminal Court during a visit by Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. Axios has disclosed that Jared Kushner's Abraham Accords Institute is set to merge with the Heritage Foundation.
The United States has implemented a prohibition on its government employees stationed in China from engaging in any romantic or sexual relationships with Chinese nationals. Radio Free Europe has reported that the United States has deactivated a satellite that was previously used to transmit Russian broadcasts. Furthermore, Standard & Poor's has warned that the tariffs imposed by former President Trump could potentially lead to an increase in bad loans in China, reaching levels not seen since the pandemic.
GPT 4.5 successfully completes Turing test with Persona. AI's conversational skills achieve unprecedented levels. In commemoration of Microsoft's 50th anniversary, Bill Gates has made available the original source code of BASIC for the Altair 8080. Indian technology startups valued at $100 billion are expected to pursue initial public offerings by the year 2027.
The Trump administration has dismissed the director of the National Security Agency, following a report by the Washington Post that a far-right activist had advocated for his removal. The Hill has noted that Trump has made history by granting a pardon to a corporation. The White House has decided to delay the garden tours scheduled for Saturday due to anticipated anti-Trump protests.
Canada has introduced restricted retaliatory actions against the United States, labeling President Trump's decision as a tragic event. In response to the unjustified tariffs imposed by the U.S., Canada plans to impose a 25% tax on American automobiles, as announced by Carney. Japan expresses significant worry over the U.S.'s reciprocal tariffs and insists on their removal. French President Macron urges European Union companies to halt their investments in the United States.
Trump's recent tariffs have been described as creating a $1 trillion barrier to international trade for the U.S. economy. Trump has expressed willingness to reduce tariffs if presented with exceptional offers. The European Union plans to focus on U.S. online services in response to Trump's tariffs, as stated by France. In China, Pinduoduo is set to invest over $13 billion across 3 years to aid merchants. Bulgaria's ruling administration manages to withstand a no-confidence motion initiated by a political faction aligned with Russia. Russia has prohibited Elton John's AIDS Foundation, citing the need to protect spiritual and moral values. Additionally, the pro-Russian leader of Bosnian Serbs, Dodik, appears in Moscow while facing legal charges in Bosnia.
The Michael Jackson biopic is expected to be divided into 2 films, which will result in a postponed release date. A live-action adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon 2 is set to hit theaters in 2027. Furthermore, Bruce Springsteen plans to release 7 albums featuring previously unreleased music, titled Tracks 2, The Lost Albums.
Bonobos employ a form of syntax that was previously believed to be exclusive to humans. Marine microorganisms have been found to possess novel gene clusters that facilitate hydrogen production. The cells that cover your skin and organs have the ability to produce electricity when they are damaged, which could lead to innovative approaches for wound treatment.
The United States Department of Energy is extending an invitation to companies interested in developing artificial intelligence data centers on the grounds of Los Alamos National Laboratory and other federal properties. Google is reportedly in advanced negotiations with CoreWeave to lease NVIDIA's AI servers. The information has remarked on NVIDIA's predicament, as Chinese companies have swiftly placed orders for $16 billion worth of new AI chips.
Research indicates that an artificial sweetener commonly used in diet beverages may be associated with alterations in the brain that lead to heightened appetite. The United States Supreme Court has mostly supported the Food and Drug Administration's decision to reject applications for flavored vaping products. A challenging work environment might be subtly hindering initiatives aimed at boosting birth rates.
Intel and TSMC have recently engaged in discussions about establishing a joint venture in the chip-making industry. In a related development, OpenAI has reported that users of ChatGPT have created more than 700 million images within a single week. The use of AI bots has led to a significant increase in bandwidth usage at Wikimedia, with a surge of 50%.
Advertising is prohibited on all websites that are blocked in Russia, effective from September. Spotify informs advertisers that users are actively engaging with the app rather than passively scrolling. According to the New York Times, QVC has introduced its inaugural 24/7 live shopping streams on TikTok.
Mark Zuckerberg is actively engaging in discussions with Donald Trump to resolve the antitrust lawsuit filed against Meta. Concurrently, a U.S. Senate committee has initiated an investigation into Meta's strategies to penetrate the Chinese market. Brazil has launched an inquiry into Apple regarding its app tracking transparency policy, following a complaint from Meta. The New York Times has reported that the European Union is preparing significant penalties for Elon Musk's company, X.
Amazon has introduced a new AI agent designed to browse and purchase items from various third-party websites on your behalf. OpenAI and Anthropic are engaged in a competition to attract college students by offering them free access to AI technology. A DeepMind program has demonstrated its AI prowess by mastering the game Minecraft, successfully locating diamonds without any prior instruction.
Nature has announced that the Trump administration instructed the National Institutes of Health to conduct research on feelings of regret experienced by transgender individuals following their transition. YouTube has updated its hate speech policy to exclude gender identity from the list of protected categories. The Ultimate Fighting Championship has entered into a comprehensive sponsorship agreement with Meta, which is expected to strengthen the relationship between Mark Zuckerberg and Dana White.
The 2025 MTV Video Music Awards will be broadcast on CBS for the first time, while also being simulcast on MTV. The Simpsons, Family Guy, and Bob's Burgers have been renewed for an additional 4 seasons, and American Dad is set to make a comeback on Fox. Furthermore, the NHL has secured a $7.7 billion agreement with Rogers, which surpasses the previous media rights contract by more than double the amount they agreed upon 10 years ago.
President Donald J. Trump announced a national emergency to enhance the United States' competitive advantage, safeguard its sovereignty, and bolster its national and economic security. He stated that foreign trade and economic practices have led to this emergency, and his directive includes imposing tariffs to improve the U.S.'s global economic standing and protect American workers. Treasury Secretary Bessent urged countries not to retaliate following the Comprehensive Liberation Day tariffs. In the U.S., the Senate criticized Trump's tariffs, with some Republicans voting to stop taxes on Canadian imports.
The TikTok agreement has been temporarily suspended due to China's objections regarding tariffs, according to sources. President Trump has extended the deadline for TikTok to divest, mentioning that China is unhappy about the tariffs. In response to Trump's trade war, China has imposed a 34% reciprocal tariff on imports of U.S. goods. Furthermore, China has retaliated by implementing export controls on essential rare earths, cutting off U.S. supplies of minerals crucial for defense and clean tech. Trump commented that China played it wrong, which led to a stock market crash. Federal Reserve Chair Powell has warned that tariff-induced inflation could be more persistent, while Trump has urged him to lower interest rates.
China has developed the world's first RISC-V chip with a size of just 1 nanometer, utilizing 2D materials. OpenAI has engaged in discussions about acquiring the AI device startup founded by Johnny Ive and Sam Altman. Air India has collaborated with Apple to introduce AirTag-based technology for tracking lost luggage.
The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, have issued a warning about the fast flux technique, which is being employed by hackers to conceal malicious servers. In a separate incident, coordinated cyber attacks have targeted Australia's largest pension funds. A breach in Europacar's GitLab has compromised the personal data of potentially up to 200,000 customers.
The Wall Street Journal has reported that Klarna has decided to halt its previously planned initial public offering, IPO, following the announcement of tariffs by President Trump. Bloomberg has noted that within a span of just 24 hours, the ongoing trade war has led to the stalling of mergers and acquisitions, M&A, and IPOs valued in the billions of dollars. Nintendo has postponed the pre-order date for its Switch 2 in the United States to evaluate the effects of Trump's tariffs. In the U.S., PSA has also paused accepting international submissions for grading due to the tariffs. Elon Musk is allegedly using Doge to gain access to Social Security data in order to strengthen claims against migrants, while DHS officials have requested the IRS to utilize tax data to identify up to 7 million immigrants. Doge is organizing a hackathon at the IRS with the goal of obtaining easier access to taxpayer data. Politico has remarked, "The terror is real," as the tech industry, feeling intimidated, hesitates to criticize Elon Musk. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has stated that the imposition of tariffs by the United States does not breach the NATO treaty. Elon Musk has expressed his desire for both Europe and the United States to transition towards a scenario where tariffs are completely eliminated. Apple is contemplating the possibility of increasing its iPhone assembly operations in Brazil as a strategy to circumvent the tariffs imposed by the United States.
Trump hints at a potential tariff agreement with Vietnam following a productive conversation. In contrast to Trump's tariff policies, California, under Governor Newsom, intends to continue engaging in global trade independently. Indonesia's minister states that the country will not take retaliatory measures against Trump's tariff.
Disney showcased footage from Avatar 3, Fantastic Four, Elio, and Tron Ares at CinemaCon. The Las Vegas Sphere revealed plans for an immersive screening of The Wizard of Oz. The United States is anticipated to host the Women's World Cup in 2031, potentially alongside other CONCACAF countries.
The Writers Guild of America has approved a fresh 3-year agreement with CBS News, ensuring important protections related to artificial intelligence. In New York, lawsuits filed by U.S. authors against OpenAI and Microsoft have been merged with similar actions taken by newspapers. The United Nations has issued a warning that artificial intelligence might impact 40% of jobs and exacerbate inequality among countries.
A report indicates that Russian espionage devices have been detected monitoring the movements of Britain's nuclear submarines within the waters of the United Kingdom. It has been suggested that the White House attributes the signal scandal to an auto-suggested contact on an iPhone. Furthermore, the Sahel Alliance has decided to withdraw its ambassadors from Algiers following the incident of a drone being downed.
Anthropic asserts that reasoning models often do not express their true thoughts. DeepSeek has introduced a novel AI reasoning technique, generating excitement for its upcoming advanced model. Meta has revealed the Llama 4 series of large language models, including Maverick and Scout. They assert that the Maverick model, with 400 billion parameters, leads in all benchmarks. Furthermore, they mention that a 2 trillion parameter model, known as Behemoth, is currently undergoing training.
A previously operational coal-fired power plant in the United States is set to be transformed into a large-scale gas-powered facility dedicated to artificial intelligence and data centers. A study conducted by Texas A&M University reveals that after 120 years of conservation efforts, the Yellowstone bison population has reduced to a single breeding group. The Trump administration has issued an order allowing logging in half of the country's national forests. The SEC has announced that stablecoins such as USDT and USDC, which are considered covered, are not classified as securities. Consequently, there is no requirement for registration when minting or redeeming these digital currencies. In a viral video, Jim Cramer has forecasted a stock market crash reminiscent of the 1987 Black Monday, attributing it to the tariffs imposed by Trump. Chinese markets are preparing for a potentially turbulent Monday as trading resumes following a series of reciprocal tariffs with the U.S. Trump's leading economic advisor has stated that 50 countries have expressed interest in negotiating tariffs.
Long-term alcohol consumption leads to gender-specific difficulties in evaluating rewards within the striatum. Following a Western diet while pregnant is linked to neurodevelopmental issues in children and teenagers. Recent studies suggest that inadequate sleep might contribute to the rise of conspiracy theories.
The United States has experienced its most significant honeybee die-off, resulting in the loss of 1.6 million colonies. In Australia, Queensland, which is typically dry, has been severely impacted by floods. The World Health Organization reports an increase in drug-resistant fungal diseases.
Research indicates that individuals who feel lonely experience increased sadness after interacting with chatbots. An 18-year study has discovered a connection between being married and a higher risk of developing dementia in older adults. Brain channels that appear to be frozen in time have been found to show a chemical flow that facilitates learning and cognitive processes.
Cambodia celebrates the inauguration of a military base that has been renovated by China. The Japanese emperor pays a visit to Iwo Jima to pay respects to those who lost their lives in one of the most intense battles of World War II. Germany's Rheinmetall is setting its sights on producing engines for missiles capable of traveling 2,000 kilometers and plans to establish a facility for launching satellites.
Goldman Sachs has reduced its growth prediction for Chinese stocks in 2025 due to the influence of Trump's tariffs. Just 6 days prior, the financial institution also adjusted its forecast for Europe's Stoxx 600 index, citing the same tariff impact. The UK's Jaguar Land Rover has decided to halt shipments to the United States because of these tariffs. In the US, Besant has described the tariffs as a court in China is conducting an auction for 100 tons of live crocodiles, with the starting bid set at $550,000 US, but without including delivery. In Philadelphia, the zoo has celebrated the hatching of its first Galapagos tortoise babies, marking a significant event as the endangered tortoise, who is approximately 100 years old, becomes a first-time mother. In Britain's second-largest city, rats that are reportedly larger than
campaigned to have users of the Notify app face imprisonment and fines reaching up to $30,000.
People in Spain are taking to the streets in 40 different cities to demonstrate against the escalating housing crisis. In Hong Kong, residential landlords are receiving backing from employees at hedge funds and cryptocurrency firms, according to Savills. The death toll has increased to 33 due to severe flooding caused by heavy rains in the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo.
During Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit, India and Sri Lanka have entered into agreements focusing on defense and energy, which are expected to enhance their bilateral relations. In Armenia, the president has signed a law that marks the beginning of the country's journey towards joining the European Union. Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, has announced his decision to step down from his position as the chair of the trustees.
Germany is contemplating the removal of its 1,200-ton gold reserve from the United States as a response to actions by Donald Trump. Across the nation, millions participated in hands-off protests against Trump and Elon Musk, with Musk dismissing the Saturday demonstrators as paid puppets. In Paris, supporters of Marine Le Pen gathered, transforming a protest into a powerful display of populist strength. Le Pen criticized what she called a witch hunt and pledged to continue her fight at the rally. Trump and Vance expressed their support for Le Pen following her conviction.
Microsoft introduces Copilot Vision, an AI tool designed to assist users in real-world scenarios, available on both Windows and mobile platforms. OpenAI announces the upcoming release of O3, although it will postpone the launch of GPT-5. Midjourney unveils V7, marking its first new AI image model in almost a year.
Mavoglurant has been shown to decrease cocaine consumption in individuals suffering from cocaine use disorder during a Phase 2 clinical trial. Research indicates that newborns exposed to antibiotics may experience a weakened immune response to vaccines. A neuroscientific model has identified a consistent physiological pattern associated with near-death experiences.
Hantavirus, responsible for the death of Gene Hackman's spouse, has been associated with 3 fatalities in a remote California community. Donald Trump has declined President Biden's proposal to broaden Medicare's coverage to include obesity medications. OpenAI is experimenting with watermarking technology for its ChatGPT 4o image generation model. Uber and WeRide have collaborated with Dubai's Road and Transport Authority to introduce autonomous vehicles to the city. In a separate development, China has introduced an alternative to HDMI and DisplayPort, known as GPMI, which offers an impressive bandwidth of up to 192 gigabits per second and a power delivery capacity of 480 W. A man has filed a lawsuit against a Chinese gaming company, claiming that being virtually slapped 4,800 times led to his depression.
The thalamus influences consciousness by exerting layer-specific control over the cortex. The universe's structure has become increasingly disorganized, as indicated by cosmological data that suggest it has grown messier and more complicated. A recent study indicates that OpenAI's models have memorized copyrighted material.
The BBC expresses dissatisfaction with the absence of its branding on stories featured in Apple News. Russian journalists working for the BBC are deeply concerned about being labeled as foreign agents. A court has mandated that Wikimedia take down content from India that is considered defamatory.
The United States and Iran are engaging in direct discussions regarding Iran's nuclear program, as announced by President Trump. Iran has stated that it will participate in indirect negotiations with the U.S. in Oman on Saturday. Hezbollah has expressed its willingness to consider disarming if Israel agrees to withdraw from southern Lebanon. Furthermore, Reuters has reported that Iran-backed militias in Iraq are prepared to disarm in an effort to avoid potential retaliation from President Trump.
Volkswagen's Audi division is holding vehicles in U.S. ports because of the automotive tariffs, while the European Union has proposed to President Trump the elimination of all industrial tariffs. This situation has been described as the EU being concerned about a surge in Chinese imports as Trump intensifies the tariff conflict. Trump has dismissed the EU's proposal for a zero-for-zero tariff agreement, stating that the EU must purchase $350 billion worth of U.S. energy to receive any tariff relief. China's Premier Li has assured the EU's Ursula von der Leyen that China is equipped to handle Trump's actions, as Brussels considers imposing 25% tariffs in retaliation against Trump. The design team at General Motors in the United Kingdom envisions a future where the iconic Corvette is powered by electricity. Kawasaki has introduced a groundbreaking hydrogen-powered, ride-on-robot horse. Amazon Zoox has started testing its robotaxi service in the bustling city of Los Angeles.
The discovery of stone tools in China indicates that individuals in East Asia were engaging in innovative activities during the Middle Paleolithic period, similar to those in Europe and the Middle East. A startup focused on de-extinction, valued at $10 billion, has successfully revived the dire wolf. Furthermore, anthrax has resulted in the deaths of 50 hippos within Congo's Virunga National Park.
Apple customers are rushing to stores to purchase iPhones before tariffs take effect. Reuters has reported that Micron plans to introduce a tariff-related surcharge on certain products starting April 9, according to sources. The Guardian has commented that Trump's tariffs, described as very beautiful on Fox News, are expected to address issues in America, masculinity, and the family.
Madonna and Elton John have finally resolved their long-standing conflict, which began years ago when Elton criticized Madonna for lip-syncing. They emphasize that forgiveness is a powerful tool. Werner Herzog is set to receive the Golden Lion for career achievement at the Venice Film Festival. In Panama, lightning strikes have been found to enhance the growth of the almendro tree. In Germany, 15 schools in Duisburg have been shut down due to threats from far-right groups. The Guardian has commented on the situation where student journalists in the United States have stopped publishing, fearing a campaign by Trump against pro-Palestinian speech. In the United States, the Department of Justice has stated that some individuals charged in connection with the January 6 events should be reimbursed for the money they sent to Congress. It was reported 2 months ago that only a small portion of the restitution owed for the damage caused to the U.S. Capitol during the riot has been paid by the offenders. South Korea is anticipated to hold an unexpected presidential election on June 3, according to media reports. In a tragic incident, at least 66 people, including 2 former Major League Baseball players, lost their lives when the roof of a nightclub in the Dominican Republic collapsed. Kenya is optimistic that by transforming the large Kakuma refugee camp into a city, it will facilitate the integration of refugees into society. Donald Trump has issued a warning to China, threatening to impose an additional 50% tariff unless Beijing decides to remove its own tariffs. In response, China has declared its intention to fight to the end following Trump's threat of increased tariffs. Furthermore, Trump has raised tariffs to 90% on small parcels originating from mainland China and Hong Kong. China has called on Shein to pause its supply chain adjustments in light of the tariffs. The Disney Store has launched its May the 4th celebrations early, offering exclusive Star Wars merchandise weekly, while Amazon is expanding its Hall Bargain store to include name brands and provide faster shipping. It has been noted that countries such as Brazil, Egypt, and Singapore could potentially benefit from the current tariff situation.
The Ukrainian intelligence agency, HUR, has reported the discovery of an Indian component in a Russian weapon for the first time. President Zelensky announced that Ukraine has captured 2 Chinese soldiers who were fighting on behalf of President Putin. Furthermore, Zelensky confirmed that Ukrainian troops are present in Russia's Belgorod region. Japan has expressed its desire to become part of a NATO command to provide support to Ukraine.
Ripple has made a significant move by acquiring Hidden Road, a prime broker known for its favorable stance towards cryptocurrencies, for a substantial amount of $1.25 billion. Tether is contemplating the introduction of a stablecoin that would be exclusively available in the United States, following the relaxation of cryptocurrency regulations by former President Trump. Ant Group's technology division has decided to establish its global headquarters in Hong Kong, as part of its strategic focus on advancing artificial intelligence and Web3 technologies.
The Art Basel and UBS Global Art Market Report for 2025, prepared by Arts Economics, predicts a 12% decrease in total art sales, bringing the figure down to $57.5 billion. Rolex has introduced the Oyster Perpetual Land Dweller, accompanied by 32 patent applications and patents. Robert De Niro is set to be honored with the honorary Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival in 2025 and will also conduct a masterclass.
Nintendo has announced that game keycards are not linked to any specific accounts, allowing them to be freely loaned or sold to others. Hershey's chocolate is set to receive a movie that explores its origins. In a rural town in Japan, trading cards featuring middle-aged men have gained significant popularity and gone viral.
Taiwan does not have any intentions of implementing retaliatory tariffs, but it does plan to increase its purchases from the United States and also intends to expand its investments in the country. Bangladesh is urging President Trump to postpone the imposition of tariffs, highlighting its efforts to enhance imports from the United States. Reuters has reported that Thailand is considering increasing its imports from the United States and reducing taxes as a response to the tariffs. However, Bloomberg has reported that an official from Thailand has stated that the country will not rush to lower taxes on imports from the United States.
Beijing has instructed American companies to hold Washington accountable for the ongoing tariff tensions while emphasizing the promising opportunities available in China. It is also reported that Elon Musk personally reached out to President Trump, urging him to overturn the extensive new tariffs. Musk has publicly criticized Trump's leading trade advisor, Peter Navarro, referring to him as a moron and dumber than a sack of bricks. Furthermore, it is said that Apple organized 5 flights carrying iPhones from India and China within a span of 3 days in an effort to circumvent the tariffs imposed by Trump.
A recent poll indicates that approximately 25% of companies in Hong Kong might adopt the government's wage freeze policy. This follows the announcement 2 months ago that Hong Kong plans to reduce its civil service workforce by 10,000 positions and implement a pay freeze due to budgetary deficits. In the United Kingdom, the post office has decided to sell off all of its branches that it directly owns. The International Monetary Fund (IMF) has come to an agreement with Argentina, providing a $20 billion bailout to the financially struggling nation.
IBM has introduced a new mainframe system designed to manage the substantial workloads associated with AI models. Andreessen Horowitz is aiming to secure a massive $20 billion fund, driven by the growing interest in AI startups within the United States. TSMC is reportedly at risk of incurring a $1 billion penalty due to a chip discovered in a Huawei AI processor, according to various sources.
A study conducted over Google CTRs has revealed that the increasing prominence of AI-generated overviews in search results is leading to a decrease in click-through rates. This shift has left website creators feeling as though they have been betrayed, as reported by Bloomberg. Google has introduced an AI mode in its search capabilities that is now able to provide answers to questions related to images. The CEO of Shopify has stated that employees must demonstrate that their roles cannot be performed by AI before requesting additional staffing.
JP Morgan's CEO, Jamie Dimon, has expressed concerns that the tariffs imposed by Trump will lead to increased inflation and further decelerate the U.S. economy, which is already experiencing a slowdown. Goldman Sachs has increased the likelihood of a recession in the United States to 45%, marking the second such increase within a single week. Bill Ackman has urged for a 90-day pause on tariffs, warning that without this action, there is a risk of an economically self-induced nuclear winter.
Instagram is enhancing its search capabilities to rival TikTok. In 2024, Spotify is set to pay African artists a total of $59 million, with Nigerian and South African musicians leading the global music trend. Meta has announced that teenagers under the age of 16 will require parental consent to live stream on Instagram.
In the United States, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, agents have the primary responsibility of determining whether detainees are affiliated with gangs and should be deported, according to the border czar. Migrants who use the Biden-era CBP-1 app to enter the U.S. have had their legal status revoked and are instructed to leave the country immediately. Germany has halted its participation in the United Nations Refugee Resettlement Program as a new coalition government is expected to adopt a less hospitable stance towards refugees. Furthermore, the European Union's border agency is conducting an investigation into Greece regarding potential human rights violations.
A Panama official has leveled accusations of misconduct against a Hong Kong port operator, while the U.S. defense chief has stated that the country will reclaim control of the Panama Canal from what he describes as China's influence. In a separate development, Spain is advocating for the European Union to shift its focus towards China as a means to counteract the tariffs imposed by Trump. The LA Times has remarked that Trump's tariffs are further damaging Hollywood's prospects in China.
In the United States, the Department of Justice has decided to disband its team dedicated to enforcing cryptocurrency regulations, choosing instead to concentrate its efforts on combating terrorism and fraud. Reuters has disclosed that Elon Musk's cryptocurrency, Doge, is allegedly utilizing artificial intelligence to monitor the activities of U.S. federal employees, according to unnamed sources. There are reports indicating that hackers have plans to target Elon Musk for an entire month.
Hackers have been present in the systems of the Treasury Office of the Comptroller of the Currency since a breach occurred in June 2023, according to the U.S. financial regulator, who reported that an email hack revealed sensitive information about banks. The UK has been unsuccessful in its attempt to maintain the secrecy of Apple's appeal against a request for an iPhone backdoor. Furthermore, tech CEOs in the U.S. have noted that a large number of fake job seekers are overwhelming companies that are currently hiring for remote positions.
In the United States, a former Justice Department pardon attorney has made allegations of ongoing corruption and misuse of authority within the agency. President Trump and Paramount have reached an agreement on a mediator for the 60 Minutes lawsuit. CBS has reported that President Trump's debt related to fraud in New York exceeds $500 million. Furthermore, it is reported that several top officials from the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, are expected to resign following a controversial agreement to provide data on migrants to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE.
The White House has stated that Trump is confident the United States possesses the ability to produce iPhones, as the ongoing tariff conflict with China continues. Trump has indicated that the U.S. will soon reveal tariffs on pharmaceutical imports. The U.S. Congress, specifically the House, is expected to provide Trump with the necessary space to implement these tariffs, according to Johnson. Furthermore, Trump has issued a threat to veto any legislation aimed at limiting his authority over tariffs. In another development, Trump has mandated a fresh review of the merger between Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel.
Dr. Oz advocates for AI in healthcare at first Medicare agency meeting. 5 days ago, Dr. Oz officially took on the role of leading the agency responsible for managing Medicare and Medicaid. The White House has directed agencies to create strategies and appoint leaders to enhance the use of AI. A congressional report highlights that China's advancements in biotechnology pose a threat to U.S. dominance, and a Stanford report indicates that the U.S.'s lead in AI over China is quickly diminishing.
Ivorian fintech company Jammo has successfully secured $17 million in funding to further develop its platform, marking a significant milestone as it reaches 1 million active customers. A unit of Johnson & Johnson has been mandated to pay $1.64 billion due to the illegal promotion of HIV drugs. In a strategic move, Infineon has announced its acquisition of Marvell's automotive Ethernet business. In India, there is growing concern over digital safety, as cyber scams specifically targeting the elderly continue to rise.
A recent report indicates that in 2024, clean energy sources were responsible for generating 40% of the world's electricity. In the United States, former President Trump has issued executive orders intended to revitalize the coal industry, which has been facing significant challenges. The National Weather Service in the U.S. has decided to cease translating its weather products into
Bank Negara has indicated that there is no immediate plan to reduce interest rates, even though the United States has imposed tariffs and the Malaysian ringgit is experiencing fluctuations. A survey conducted by Pew Research Center reveals that a significant portion of Americans are against the from the escalating U.S. trade war, and China might retaliate by leveraging its service trade to counter the U.S. tariffs.
The Washington Post discusses the rise of MAGA Maoism within the populist right, as Besant suggests that federal layoffs could assist in filling factory positions generated by Trump's tariffs. China has criticized J.D. Vance for referring to its citizens as peasants. Meanwhile, a right
collaborated closely with the Chinese government to censor posts.
ASEAN has decided not to retaliate against Trump's tariffs, opting instead to pursue frank dialogue. Meanwhile, the EU has temporarily halted its tariff retaliation for 90 days, aligning with Trump's actions, in the hopes of initiating talks. The total U.S. tariffs on Chinese imports have reached 145%, according to a White House official. In response, China has increased tariffs on U.S. goods and advised its citizens to exercise caution when traveling. Trump's leading trade official was not informed about the tariff delay until after the announcement was made. Trump has paused reciprocal tariffs for 90 days, with the exception of those impacting China. China plans to limit U.S. film releases following Trump's tariff increase.
Bank of America suggests that the cost of Apple's iPhone could increase by 90% if production is relocated to the United States. In response to potential Trump tariffs, Apple has reportedly transported 600 tons of iPhones from India. Trump has criticized Apple's manufacturing in China as unsustainable and has hinted at possibly exempting some companies from tariffs. Trump has reversed his decision to prevent the export of NVIDIA's H20 chips to China following a meeting with the CEO at Mar-a-Lago. The European Commission president has warned that if Trump's tariff negotiations fail, major U.S. tech companies like Meta and Google might face financial consequences, emphasizing that there are no winners in this, only losers.
In the United States, DOJ has uncovered thousands of fraudulent unemployment claims, leading to a doubling of pandemic unemployment fraud estimates to a range of $100 to $135 billion. Senators Crapo and Smith are urging immediate action in response. Trump has reportedly assigned DOJ to conduct a review of the Navy, with Palantir reportedly assisting DOJ in a significant IRS data project. Furthermore, the Pentagon plans to terminate $5.1 billion in contracts with companies such as Accenture and Deloitte.
Facing demands for proof against Mahmoud Khalil, Rubio contends that Khalil's mere presence weakens U.S. foreign policy and informs the judge that the U.S. government has the authority to deport Khalil due to his beliefs. The state instructs its employees to monitor each other for any signs of anti-Christian bias. Additionally, the Trump administration seeks to place Colombia under federal supervision to guarantee adherence to anti-Semitism policies.
Ireland is investigating Elon Musk's Platform X for allegedly using the data of European users to train its AI model named Grok. Facebook is reportedly shifting its Llama 4 AI model towards a more conservative stance, aiming to offer a balanced perspective by presenting both sides of issues. YouTube has introduced a complementary AI tool designed to assist creators in making music.
Democrats are pushing for an investigation into potential insider trading related to Trump's social media comments about the stock market prior to a reversal on tariffs, which led to a significant market rise. Marjorie Taylor Greene is under scrutiny for alleged insider trading due to her stock purchases. Trump has stated, "I know what I'm doing regarding tariffs, but many Americans are skeptical." He boasted in the Oval Office about his wealthy friends profiting greatly in the stock market after he lifted tariffs. Furthermore, Trump provided a buy recommendation on social media just hours before the tariff pause, which caused stocks to surge.
In the United States, a group of senators from both major political parties has proposed a new bill aimed at granting former President Donald Trump additional authority to prevent Chinese investments. In the United Kingdom, the government is set to enact urgent legislation to assume control over British Steel. It has been revealed that the CEO of Intel has made investments in numerous Chinese companies, some of which have connections to the military sector.
Governments have discovered numerous Android applications that come pre-installed with spyware.
The Giza pyramids has fueled speculation about the existence of an ancient energy grid.
In the United States, the House of Representatives has approved a plan to move forward with making Trump's tax cuts permanent and increasing the debt limit. This decision is part of a $5.8 trillion budget resolution. Trump has issued an order to investigate former CISA head Chris Krebs and two first-term administration officials who have been critical of him. Fox News and Dominion Voting Systems have settled a significant defamation lawsuit.
Apple India has manufactured iPhones valued at $22 billion, marking a significant shift in production away from China. Apple and Nvidia have received relief from U.S. tariffs through exemptions, as President Trump has excluded smartphones from reciprocal tariffs. However, U.S. Commerce Secretary has indicated that the exempted electronic products will be subject to different tariffs. Bloomberg discusses the uncertain future of Wi-Fi giant TP-Link in the U.S., which is contingent on its alleged separation from China. In another development, China's new semiconductor regulations have spared Taiwanese foundries while imposing penalties on Intel, Global Foundries, and Texas Instruments. Furthermore, President Trump has stated that he informed TSMC that it would face a 100% tax if it does not establish a manufacturing presence in the U.S.
Analysis of soil from the moon's far side indicates that it is drier compared to the side that faces Earth. A NASA spacecraft has detected a massive black hole emitting an intense burst of X-rays, releasing energy that is 100 times greater than what has been observed in other locations. A high school student has employed artificial intelligence to uncover 1.5 million objects in space that were previously unknown.
In 2024, clean energy sources were responsible for generating 40% of the world's electricity, according to a recent report. The International Energy Agency, IEA, has projected that the demand for power in global data centers will increase by a factor of 2 by the year 2030, driven by the rapid growth of artificial intelligence. A report from the UK revealed that last year, the number of gas boiler fittings was 15 times greater than the number of heat pumps installed. Furthermore, a modeling study has identified that industrial carbon producers play a substantial role in contributing to the rise in sea levels.
The Bank of England has expressed concerns that the use of AI models in financial systems might lead to shared vulnerabilities, potentially causing misestimations of certain risks. These models could take correlated positions which might amplify financial shocks. There is a reliance on a limited number of providers, and malicious actors may have the capability to successfully execute cyberattacks against the financial system. In a separate development, the U.S. Army has stated that it could potentially acquire targets more quickly by utilizing advanced AI. Meanwhile, Musk's company xAI has introduced Grok 3, providing access to compete with rival AI models like GPT-4 and Gemini.
The reboot sound from Microsoft Windows 95 and the soundtrack of Minecraft have been added to the National Recording Registry. Andy Warhol's artwork titled Electric Chair is set to be auctioned at Christie's with an estimated value of $30 million. The original version of Star Wars will be shown this summer in the City of London. WordPress.com has introduced a complimentary website builder that utilizes artificial intelligence. Razer has officially launched its PC Remote Play feature. It has been reported that OpenAI has assisted spammers in spreading messages across 80,000 websites, successfully evading filter systems.
Prince Harry from the UK discreetly traveled to Ukraine to meet with individuals affected by the war. The United States is reportedly insisting that Ukraine take control of a crucial pipeline that transports Russian gas. According to the BBC, a Russian S-400 or R-37 missile has reportedly shot down a US-made F-16 aircraft in Ukraine.
In the ongoing chip conflict, Samsung has refuted claims of stopping foundry services for Chinese customers despite pressure from the United States. According to the South China Morning Post, Chinese exporters are reportedly abandoning shipments in the middle of their journey to evade the heavy tariffs imposed by President Trump. Reuters indicates that Chinese vendors on Amazon are either increasing their prices or leaving the U.S. market as tariffs continue to rise. In response to the trade war, China's major retail companies have committed to assisting exporters in shifting their focus to the domestic market, while the U.S. has increased charges on small parcels, specifically targeting Chinese retailers.
Kennedy has established a deadline of September to pinpoint the reason behind the increasing autism rates in the United States. A study indicates that diabetes experienced during pregnancy is associated with elevated rates of ADHD and autism in children. France plans to prohibit students from possessing smartphones within school premises.
The European Union might impose taxes on major technology companies if the trade negotiations with Donald Trump do not succeed, according to Ursula von der Leyen. A new artificial intelligence fund in China is set to invest a substantial amount of $8 billion into projects that are still in their early stages. Some insiders at Meta's AI research lab have expressed concerns that it is experiencing a gradual decline, although Meta itself prefers to describe this situation as a new beginning.
Research indicates that microtransactions accounted for 58% of the total revenue generated by PC games in the year 2024. In the aftermath of the Crew lawsuit, Ubisoft has asserted that players do not possess ownership of their games. Illegal casinos and sportsbooks have been found to generate the majority of online gaming revenue in the United States.
Netflix is experimenting with a new AI-driven search engine designed to suggest shows and movies to its users. James Cameron has expressed that blockbuster films can only remain viable if their production costs are reduced by half. He is currently investigating how AI technology can assist in this process without resulting in staff layoffs. There is ongoing skepticism among audiences regarding the use of generative AI in news reporting. Furthermore, Salvador Dali's artwork titled Giraffes on Horseback Salad is set to be recreated using artificial intelligence. Giraffes on Horseback Salad is set to be recreated using artificial intelligence.
In March 2025, ChatGPT achieved the status of the most downloaded application worldwide. According to Reuters, Alphabet and NVIDIA have reportedly invested in SSI, a company founded by OpenAI co-founder Sutskever, as indicated by a source. It is being reported that the advancement of AI models capable of reasoning is leading to an increase in the cost of benchmarking.
China has issued a travel advisory for the United States as President Trump escalates tariff retaliation measures. European travelers are canceling their trips to the U.S. due to concerns over Trump's policies impacting tourism. The Centers for Disease Control
claims and successfully raising $50 million. OpenAI has filed a countersuit against Elon Musk, accusing him of harassment and orchestrating a fraudulent takeover attempt. Recently released images show that Elon Musk's XAI data center has almost doubled the number of its gas turbines, which are both polluting and operating without proper permits.
In times of market instability, affluent individuals are increasingly accumulating cash, gold, and establishing family trusts. Elon Musk has significantly reduced the savings target for Doge from an ambitious $2 trillion to a more modest $150 billion for the current year. Google has made the decision to terminate the employment of numerous individuals within its platform and devices division. China has increased tariffs on imports from the United States to a staggering 125%, labeling President Trump's policies as a joke. This move has caused U.S. markets to experience a decline, as tariffs on Chinese imports have now reached 145%. In response, Tesla has decided to stop importing its Model S and Model X vehicles into China, as the high tariffs have made them unaffordable and uncompetitive. General Motors has announced plans to cease production of its electric van in Ontario. The leader of the U.S. Space Force base in Greenland has been dismissed following a visit by J.D. Vance. It is reported that the Space Force commander in Greenland sent an email that distanced himself from Vance after the visit. A Space Force colonel was removed from his position after publicly disagreeing with J.D. Vance's remarks about acquiring Greenland. In other news, India plans to construct an underground nuclear submarine base to counter China, while Bangladesh has offered an air base to Beijing near the strategically important Chicken Neck area. The leading candidate in the Romanian election has promised to prevent any potential withdrawal of U.S. troops.
Bloomberg has recently highlighted that affluent Indonesians are expressing concerns about President Prabowo's policies, prompting them to transfer their wealth abroad. It was reported yesterday that Indonesian President Prabowo has requested Turkey to support Jakarta in assuming responsibility for establishing a new global order. Furthermore, Bloomberg indicates that the United States is considering providing financial assistance to farmers amid potential retaliatory measures from China. Lastly, Bloomberg notes that Japan does not intend to utilize U.S. treasuries as leverage in ongoing tariff discussions.
Research indicates that women possess superior hearing abilities compared to men. Mindfulness plays a role in influencing the relationship between an individual's chronotype and the experience of depressive symptoms among young adults. A study has uncovered the presence of nearly 200 different pesticides within homes across Europe, describing this mixture as a toxic cocktail.
An earthquake has uncovered previously unknown monuments in Myanmar. In Luxor, a house of life brimming with educational artifacts has been found at the Ramesseum. A study has shown that Stonehenge is not the oldest monument of its type in England.
The Trump administration plans to allocate funds intended for humanities grants to construct a sculpture park with a patriotic theme. In a related move, Trump has intensified his conflict over inadequate water pressure by issuing an executive order aimed at addressing what he describes as weak and worthless showerheads. RFK Jr. has asserted the existence of the deep state and criticized FDA employees as sock puppets of industry. Axios has commented on this, noting that Trump is redefining fraud in his efforts to dismantle the deep state. Politico has also weighed in, highlighting that RFK Jr. has pledged to transform American healthcare, and this transformation is progressing more rapidly than anticipated.
Nations have reached a consensus on implementing a worldwide carbon tax for the shipping.
U.S. envoy Witkoff has a meeting with Putin while Trump urges Moscow to get moving on the Ukraine situation. Oman plays a central role in the initial Iran-US discussion regarding Tehran's nuclear program. The head of Greenpeace UK is arrested following a protest at the US Embassy in London against its support for Israel, and in the United States, the Department of Homeland Security is set to start screening the social media activity of immigrants for anti-Semitism.
Tesla has introduced a new long-range version of the Cybertruck, which is available for purchase at a price of $69,990. Tesla has expanded its presence in Saudi Arabia by opening its first showroom and service center located in Riyadh. The European Union and China are considering the establishment of minimum price standards for electric vehicles, as announced by the EU. Furthermore, it has been reported that Musk's Doge has dismissed self-driving car safety experts from the agency responsible for regulating Tesla. A recent settlement between U.S. Soccer and Relevant has opened the door for European soccer matches to be held in the United States. 6 months prior, it was reported that La Liga was considering hosting a match between Barcelona and Atletico Madrid in the U.S. A British adaptation of Saturday Night Live with an all-British cast is set to premiere in 2026. In financial news, Revolut plans to expand its trading platform to include UK stocks. Mario Vargas Llosa, a Nobel Prize-winning novelist from Peru, has passed away at the age of 89. Professors from Harvard University have initiated legal action against the Trump administration to prevent the examination of approximately $9 billion in federal funding. The Trump administration has proposed a plan that would reduce legal assistance available to thousands of migrant children. Furthermore, Trump has announced the termination of temporary protective status for individuals from Afghanistan and Cameroon. A service agreement between the U.S. DOJ and the Department of Labor reveals a fee of $1.3 million and outlines the mission of the agreement.
NOAM suggests that migrant detainees should remain imprisoned in El Salvador indefinitely. In the United States, the Supreme Court has instructed the government to attempt the return of a man who was mistakenly deported to an El Salvadoran prison. The Trump administration asserts that the man is still alive in the prison and argues that it has no obligation to bring him back to the U.S. A British man's tattoo was erroneously associated with a Venezuelan gang in a U.S. government document. UNICEF has reported that a child is being raped every half an hour in eastern DRC, as violence intensifies amidst a worsening funding crisis.
According to reports, Chinese stock exchanges have implemented limitations on daily stock sales, as the trade conflict with the United States intensifies, with sources indicating that China has also stopped essential exports as the trade war grows more severe. China has placed its officials on a wartime alert due to the tensions arising from President Trump's tariff actions, which are reminiscent of Cold War dynamics. Trump's advisor Peter Navarro has dismissed criticism from Elon Musk, stating, "I've been called worse," while President Trump has announced plans to reveal semiconductor tariffs within the coming week. Concerns are being raised about the potential impact of Trump's tariff strategies on prices and the financial sector, although a CBS News poll suggests that the Republican Party's base views these measures as beneficial for job creation in the long run. MCL1 plays a crucial role in protecting activated hair follicle stem cells, which is essential for the regeneration of adult hair. Research conducted by NWA reveals that engaging in cold plunges can lead to changes at the cellular level. A recent study has identified a specific brain circuit that is associated with the degree of intensity in political behavior.
Apple is preparing to launch 2 new headsets while also planning for the future development of glasses. YouTube is contemplating the introduction of a daily timer feature to assist users in reducing their consumption of shorts. OpenAI may soon mandate that users provide a verified ID to gain access to upcoming AI models through its API. Iran's methamphetamine cartels are using Malaysia's Port Klang as a route to target Australia. In Gabon, coup leader Oligui Nguema has been elected president, according to provisional results, with 90% of the votes in his favor. Analysts report that North Korea's newest ship is capable of transporting numerous missiles.
The U.S. State Department is urging its employees to document any occurrences of perceived anti-Christian prejudice occurring during President Biden's administration. Bangladesh has reinstated the phrase "Accept Israel" on its passports. In Ecuador, President Daniel Noboa has been re-elected despite widespread public concern about rising crime levels across the country.
Palantir is aiming to attract top high school graduates by offering a new internship program that encourages them to bypass college, promoting the idea of avoiding student debt and what they describe as indoctrination. Former employees from Apple, Google, and Cash App are leaving the big tech sector to focus on Bitcoin projects, supported by venture capital funding and a supportive White House environment. Hungary is on the verge of passing a constitutional amendment to prohibit LGBTQ+ gatherings.
Trump's administration has granted exemptions to numerous coal plants, allowing them to bypass more stringent pollution regulations. Goldman Sachs suggests that ESG investors should consider including oil and gas stocks in their portfolios, similar to how defense stocks are often overlooked. The Trump team is using the concept of wolf de-extinction as a rationale to reduce the number of species on the endangered list. Furthermore, it has been reported that bacteria capable of consuming methane are poised to help capture emissions from landfills.
Meta's basic Maverick AI model performs less favorably compared to competitors on a widely used chat evaluation metric. The creator of a game involving non-consensual sex has removed it from Steam following its prohibition in the UK, Canada, and Australia, stating, "We don't intend to fight the whole world." There are claims that Google is compensating certain AI employees to remain idle for a year instead of moving to competing companies.
New York has imposed a fine on Block due to deficiencies in Cash App's anti-money laundering measures. Trump has signed a resolution aimed at overturning the tax reporting rule for decentralized finance. The Wall Street Journal has reported that Binance is attempting to reduce U.S. regulatory oversight